Hi everyone, we are here today at the Emergence Investment Conference, and joining me now is Joseph Mocanu, the managing partner at Verge HealthTech Fund. Joseph is an expert in early stage healthcare technology investments with a diverse background in scientific research, entrepreneurship, and management consulting. Joseph, thank you for joining me.
Thanks so much, Rhythm, for having me here.
Amazing. Now, Joseph, as a managing partner, you focus on early stage healthcare technology companies. So, what are some notable trends that you're observing in venture capital and private equity investments within the healthcare sector?
Well, the challenge is the healthcare sector is actually really broad. Within healthcare itself, you've got traditional, life sciences, which are pharmaceuticals, biotech, med devices, diagnostics. You have health services as well, which are your brick and mortar, hospitals and, lab providers and all that sort of stuff. So it really depends on which part that you're looking at. Now, what we're looking at is healthcare technology in particular, which in our definition is any technology that can really move the needle for millions of people. And there, I think the health tech space has been a little bit quiet ever since there was a great disappointment with the post-COVID SPAC bubble bursting. And I think it's more of a consequence of the financial instrument being the SPAC as the primary way to, raise capital and go public versus the underlying companies themselves. And I think when these companies were provided a little bit too much capital before they were ready to absorb it and before they had product market fit in their business models, identified and capitalized upon properly, that led to a lot of disappointment when under public scrutiny, they didn't hit their lofty ambitions. Now, as a consequence of that, I think it's a really good time to start looking at the sector more seriously. But again, that's just my personal opinion. Again, none of this is to be misconstrued as investment advice.
Well, Joseph, with your background as a scientist researching new cancer therapies and a medical device entrepreneur, how do you think these experiences have actually informed your approach to investing in healthcare technology companies?
I think I've been very fortunate in having had both the technical and commercial experience firsthand. So my PhD gave me the opportunity to really understand fundamental and translational science, really have the ability to go deep on a subject and be able to ask those critical questions and even firsthand see, what changes, what boundaries can be pushed, et cetera. And then doing the medical device startup also showed the importance of taking an innovation and seeing what it takes to get out in the real world. And that includes running clinical trials, the regulatory process, raising capital, coming up with business plans. And, I wasn't particularly successful at the medical device entrepreneurship part of it, but sometimes you learn a lot more from not being wildly successful than you do if you would.
Absolutely. That's very well said, Joseph. Now, Verge HealthTech Fund aims to make an impact on global health. So, could you discuss the unique challenges and opportunities that are associated with investing in healthcare technology companies with a global focus?
Yeah. So, investing globally is definitely not for the faint of heart. You have to like traveling. You have to have a lot of friends around the world to help you out with some of the more nuanced due diligence processes. And while health systems may phenotypically resemble one another in terms of lack of access, lack of affordability, infrastructure, and human capital shortages, the reasons behind that may be different in each market. How healthcare is financed, how it's regulated also differs in each market. Now, the good news is there are archetypes, there are common themes that can help simplify this. And sometimes there are, actually very often, at least with the more connected med device part of our investment thesis, they're addressing a universal problem. You and I both bleed red. You and I both have lungs. You and I are 99.99% whatever genetically similar. So there are a lot of commonalities, and sometimes there is a geographic arbitrage to find a really interesting medical innovation in a place that's not really appreciated by investors, and then taking that innovation to a market where it is. right? And then with more platform nature of businesses, so these are your digital health platforms like telemedicine or remote patient monitoring or digital disease management, you do have the local health system nuances that you have to take into consideration. So you do have to have some sort of familiarity with what's going on there. And across all of these, you need to understand how business is done in each of these markets. And that's where it's helpful to team up with a venture partner or another VC fund or a smart angel who's got a bit of time on their hands, who's successfully built a business locally to help navigate those roadblocks potentially. And then another trick that we do is if it's a market that we invest in that's a little bit tricky, we try to redomicile the company to a headquarters where it's a little bit easier to have that peace of mind of financial and corporate governance.
Absolutely. Well, those are very key points to keep in mind, definitely, Joseph. Now, global health is such a critical area. Given your track record of investments in healthcare technology companies, what are some key factors or criteria that you consider when you're deciding to invest in a particular company?
We really ask three questions. Is it a good opportunity? Is it a good company? And is it a good deal? So is it a good opportunity? Are there millions of people whose lives can be improved with this solution? And it's not just about breadth, it's about depth. How serious is this condition or this inefficiency? Nobody dies of itchy skin, right? People do die of non-communicable diseases or serious infectious diseases. So we want to understand breadth times depth. And is there a lot of room to improve in making things faster, better, cheaper? So that's really kind of the opportunity question. Is it a good company? Is this the right team? Why are they doing this? Do they have an edge in their solution? Is there some sort of intellectual property or network effects, ideally, or new business model, or ideally everything that could make this the right company to address this problem? And then lastly, is a good deal. It's what do you think it's going to exit for? What can you get in at? And is that delta times the risk of, or I guess the probability of success, going to give your own stakeholders what they're expecting?
Amazing. That's wonderful, Joseph. Now, lastly, as a panelist at Emergence, being here today at the conference, do you have any key takeaways, or if you could also share about your experience being here with us today?
Oh, it was really fun. It was an honor to be able to sit next to some really smart and accomplished people. Key takeaways, it really depends because so many different topics were discussed, some relevant to what we do, some not so relevant to what we do. But I guess the key takeaway is that there's some really good people working on solving some really challenging problems in the investment space, and hopefully we can be a meaningful part of this.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Joseph. It truly has been such an insightful discussion. And thank you once again for being part of the event. To our viewers watching, thank you for joining me for this conversation with Joseph. And I look forward to seeing you all in my next interview. Thank you.
Thanks so much.